From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Bed in a bin.
Somebody asked if we could put in a hot tub, and we said no.
One Kansas rancher's new revenue source that is proving to be a hit. Pain at the pump as oil prices continue to rise.
All these things add up to you.
Warning bells.
I think we're really heading into some economic difficult times.
As grain prices make moves not seen in years, a downside emerges right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Grain markets rising to 14-year highs on fears of a cut to harvest in Ukraine. But very few farmers here at home are celebrating. They're concerned what impact this will have on rising feed costs and possible world hunger. Wheat futures are now up more than 40% than they were just a couple of weeks ago. Corn prices up 21%, soybeans up 15%. All of this in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The country's fertile farmlands help supply food to people in Europe, Africa, and Asia. It's reported Ukrainian farmers have been forced to neglect their fields as millions leave, fight, or try to stay alive. Ports are shut down that send wheat and other food staples worldwide, and there are concerns that Russia could have its grain exports upended by Western sanctions. Now, there have not yet been global disruptions to wheat supplies, but the International Grains Council says if the war is prolonged, countries that rely on affordable wheat exports from Ukraine could face shortages starting in July. That could create increased food insecurity and push more people into poverty in places like Egypt and Lebanon, where diets are dominated by government-subsidized bread. And while it may increase demand for grains here at home, there are several issues still putting pressure on producers.
We're still suffering from the tariff wars. We're still suffering from COVID, supply chain issues, a significant and widespread drought. And then now we're going to add on fertilizer and fuel prices that are even being increased even more due to this invasion of Russia into the Ukraine. And therefore, that's increasing the cost of production for wheat across the board. And to think that that's not going to affect food prices, I think is really just foolish. And so I think we're really heading into some economic difficult times. Look at how much the cost of production has also gone up. It's eaten up all of that profit that would have been made available to our U.S. wheat growers.
And right now, gas prices continue to rise as talk grows about the U.S. banning imports of oil from Russia. Oil prices climbed to over $130 a barrel Sunday into Monday, with Monday's national average price a gallon jumping above $4.06 a gallon. AAA says that's the highest price that American drivers have faced since July of 2008. Prices are up 45 cents a gallon in just the past week, and now they're nearly 50% higher than a year ago.
If we stop importing crude oil from Russia, what's that mean to gas prices? I just filled up my car today. It was $4 a gallon. Now with today's $13 rise in crude oil, that would put gasoline at about $4.50. So as crude goes up, of course, it's a tax to the consumer. All these things add up to you. And of course, while all this is happening, the Fed's talking about raising rates.
And how much higher could prices go? Bank of America has said oil prices could reach $200 a barrel if most of Russia's oil exports are cut off. And there are pressures continuing in Canada, where the world's largest crop nutrient producer is now urging the Canadian government to intervene. That's after Canadian Pacific Railway workers voted to go on strike later this month, adding to fears of yet another hurdle for crop inputs just ahead of planning. Now, Bloomberg reporting 3,000 workers at Canadian Pacific Railway voted to go on strike starting next Wednesday if a collective bargaining agreement is not secured. Nutrien warning the strike would restrict the company's ability to move potash, nitrogen, and other crop chemicals to their locations across Canada. In Iowa, tornadoes were followed by winter storms that dropped snow on the area on Monday. One tornado rated an EF3 with peak winds of 138 miles per hour. 7 people died in the storms, including 4 from the same family. The storms are the deadliest to hit Iowa since May of 2008. Some areas of the country seeing more spring-like weather this week, but that doesn't mean winter is over. Meteorologist Matt Yurosavik joins us with the very latest. Matt?
Yeah, that's right, Clinton. We're going to see some chilly temperatures up to the north, and even some more snow down through the lower 48. That's going to be possible as we head through this week. But taking a look at this jet stream, that big dip out in the west, that's what's allowing some of that chillier air to filter in down through the Rockies and even parts of the upper Midwest and into the Great Lakes, creating a above average, but just by a little bit feel, mild out in the Four Corners region and very warm in the southeast, and a lot of moisture going to be seen across the east, but still some good moisture coming to the mountains there in the Rockies, into the Cascades as well. We're going to be seeing some of that higher elevation snow and some lower valley rain as we head through this week out in the west. And most of that could be looking at some of that snow with upwards of a foot of snow in some of the higher elevations in the Rockies. And some of that could even break out across the plain states as we head through this week. So that'll be something to watch for some treacherous travel heading through the second half of the week. And this little guy had to see the excitement on the farm. Judy taking this photo in Beatty, Kansas. She says he just wanted to check out the moo-moos. Very cute. Thanks for sharing, Judy. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
And ranchers in Texas are keeping a watch on this, the potential for cattle fever. Right now, river levels are low in parts of the state due to the drought, making it easier for wildlife to cross. Ranchers say deer infected with the deadly diseases are crossing the Rio Grande River from Mexico into the state. Now, the disease is transmitted by ticks. The area is part of a tick quarantine zone that extends to all cattle ranches from Del Rio to Brownsville. A new study is raising awareness and concerns about college students' mental health following 2 years of pandemic stress. Now, this comes from the Agricultural and Applied Economics Association. In a study, researchers found more than 40% of ag undergraduate students were likely suffering from moderate to severe depression. That's after the first wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. And it was much worse for female students than for male students. Now, the authors hope the study will help the universities as they roll out new programs to assist students who might be struggling this spring. Commodity Classic returns this year as an in-person event. It's taking place in New Orleans this week. Now, last Thursday, the city lifted its indoor mask mandate. However, it's leaving its proof of vaccination mandates in place through March 21st. Visitors must either present proof of vaccine or show a negative COVID test within the last 72 hours from an official lab. Commodity Classic says at-home tests will not be accepted. We are taking AgDay on the road to Commodity Classic this week, so be sure to watch for team coverage on air and online. Caught in the middle, what high grain prices mean for livestock producers and the steps they can take to try to cut costs. That's next. And later, having a grain bin sitting unused on your farm, one producer has found a new revenue stream that has folks lining up to spend the night in the country. And here's your chance to get in the game. Sunday, brackets will open in the 2022 Bracket Busters Challenge presented by Case IH. Farmers will take on farmers for a chance at the $1,000 top prize. Make sure to check out agweb.com/bracketbusters for details.
AgDay is brought to you by Authority Supreme Herbicide from FMC. Learn more at ag.fmc.com.
Jim McCormick with agmarket.net, our guest today. Jim, as we talk about trying to figure out the supply situation given what's happening between Russia and Ukraine, obviously our livestock producers are kind of caught in the middle of all of this, and they're trying to make the margins work for themselves. The question is, can we ration demand from our livestock producers? And there may be some things out there helping us or forcing us.
Right now, there are.
Right way to say that. Yeah.
We are seeing a little bit of rationing at this point in time. Interesting, the prices are definitely pulling it back, but also what we're seeing, unfortunately, is we're seeing a bird flu situation in the United States. It's been spread across the East Coast, part of Indiana. It's now moving a little bit west, and we are liquidating flocks of birds at this point in time. So that will probably lessen the demand a little bit on the feed side, which is good if you're trying to compete for that feed. But on the other hand, that is going to tighten the protein supply for a market that's relatively tight in essence. Because right now, if you're trying to expand demand, the consumer says, hey, I want that pork, but good luck trying to build that building, getting your supplies to build the building, as well as people to, work in that building. So the supply situation is going to still think are a little bit tough. I think economically in the long run, you got to be a little bit optimistic. I think as people go out, COVID seems like we're past it. We're not hearing people talk about it anymore, which is really nice. And hopefully that's a good sign that you're going to see some demand on the, for the protein. But yes, they're definitely going to be fighting because food, the feed costs are going to continue to rise, unfortunately, we believe.
Jim, how big of a collision course are we on for the livestock industry with these grain prices?
I think we're on a pretty severe one, to be quite honest, when it's all said and done, unless these producers can get this grain prices under control and lock in these feed needs. We just don't know how high it's going to be. I know late last week, the world, I think, really got spooked when the headline was that there was a gunfight outside a nuclear reactor. And if anybody remembers what happened to the market back in Chernobyl, it exploded higher as we didn't know what that radiation leak would mean for production around the world. And where the firefights going on is some of the most fertile ground in the world. So it's something the world needs to keep an eye on and take a breath, and hopefully we can get this conflict done, because it's a situation that could already take a very tight situation to extremes no one wants to even think about.
All right, Jim, appreciate it. Thank you so much for the insights as always. We'll be back with more Ag Day and a check of weather coming up in just a minute.
To contact Jim McCormick at Ag Market, call 844-4AG-MARKET or visit their website at www.agmarket.net. Get in the game and be part of the 2022 Bracket Busters Challenge presented by Case IH. It's farmer versus farmer for a chance to win the $1,000 top prize. Head to agweb.com today to fill out your bracket. Ag Day weather is brought to you by Zoetis. Even though calves don't wait for perfect weather to arrive, you can count on Zoetis to be there. Share a picture of your newest calf and you could win a calving season survival kit. Enter now at calvingseason.com.
Downed trees from a hurricane in 2018, low humidity and strong winds are creating hazardous fire conditions around Panama City, Florida. Wildfires in the Florida Panhandle are growing and forcing evacuations there. Now, this fire, the Atkins Avenue fire, has reportedly burned 841 acres and is about 40% contained. Another, the Bertha Swamp Road fire, is reportedly burning 12,000 acres and is 10% contained. Now, the Florida Forest Service has reported nearly 150 fires across the state. Meteorologist Matt Yurosavik joining us now. Matt, those wildfires burning down in Florida, I'm sure they could really use a rain.
Yeah, they really could, and they're going to see some as we head towards the second half of the week. There's going to be a lot of moisture coming through the east, but still more snow possible as well. And you can see the snow depth, still a lot of snow, especially in the Rockies, and even some from that storm system over the past couple of days there, heading towards the Midwest and the Great Lakes. We're going to see a little bit more of that as we head through this week, and that's going to be something where we're watching again the Midwest, but also back in the Rockies with more snow, much needed moisture coming back that way as we head through this week. So here's a look at the snowfall estimate this week. Again, staying very active with that dip in the jet stream and then allowing those storm systems to kind of ride up that system. And again, keeping an eye on the tracks of both of these systems that are going to be moving through the Great Lakes or maybe even the mid-Atlantic states. That's going to really tell the tale of where that snow will fall. But looking at upwards of a foot or more in parts of the higher elevations there in the Rockies and even down into the mountains of New Mexico as well. And here's a look at the precipitation over the next 10 days. So over the next week and a half, seeing a good amount back there in the west. And this is going to be good news for us. Hopefully help to put some help back here in with these drought conditions. And looking right along the west coast there, could be looking at a lot of higher elevation snow in parts of the Cascades. Then we turn our attention to the east. A lot of rainfall going on there. Clinton mentioned the wildfires. We're going to get some rain there over the next 10 days and a lot of it east of the Mississippi as well. So here's a look at our map showing you that high pressure and control right through the middle of the country. We've got a little clipper system up to the north one system coming down through the northern Rockies and another one starting to break out some of that rain and even some thunderstorms in parts of the mid-south. That will continue to move up this way. Could mix with a little bit of snow there on the northern side as that system starts to run into that colder air right there in the mid-Atlantic states. And then as this cold front starts to move to the south and east, that's when we start to bring those showers and much needed rainfall into the Florida peninsula there, where we're seeing some of that wildfire activity. And then there's the snow back there in the Rockies will continue to move its way on through. So as we're heading through tomorrow morning, it's going to look really chilly over a good portion of the country, but still staying very mild, especially in the southeast and along the Gulf Coast. Temperatures in the 60s and 80s still likely in parts of Florida. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look at the weather where you live. Whiteville, North Carolina, a slight chance of showers, a high of 66 degrees. Huntsville, Texas, thunderstorms likely, a high of 45 degrees. And Afton, Wyoming, periods of snow likely, a high of 23 degrees.
Major companies continue to pull out of Russia and stop production in Ukraine, and that includes companies in the dairy industry. We'll have details next.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com. AgDay is brought to you by Beringer Ingelheim. Cattle first.
Several companies around the globe are cutting ties with Russia amid its invasion of Ukraine. That includes several dairy-related companies, including French food group Danone. Now, the company's shares dropping 3% on Monday after it announced it was suspending investments in Russia. It also closed one of its 2 factories in Ukraine. However, the company said it would continue to sell dairy and baby food in Russia. Danone generates about 6% of its sales in Russia and Ukraine. It is the world's largest yogurt maker. And one of the leading dairy technology companies in the world says it is cutting commercial activities throughout Russia and Belarus. Lely saying in a release that it was shocked by Russia's military invasion of Ukraine. Now, the global supplier of dairy farm robots saying it will continue to supply spare parts to existing customers in the countries, saying that otherwise cow welfare and food supply in the region would be compromised. Coming up, leave it to farmers to find a use for everything on their farm, even an old grain bin. See the unusual attraction that's creating a new revenue source at one ranch in the country.
AgDay is brought to you by Germinator Closing Wheels. Germinator, it's not just any closing wheel. Reach your yield potential. Pre-order by March 31st with coupon code AgDay for $2 shipping per wheel. Closed captioning on AgDay is brought to you by BASF, helping you do the biggest job on Earth.
Kansas is the heartland where ag is king. A ranching couple in Manhattan has created a unique twist on their love for the industry, combining farming with hospitality for an unusual rural retreat. Britton Rucker of AgDay affiliate KWCH takes you there.
One man's trash is another man's treasure.
That trash taking on a new life by turning old grain bins and making them into a cabin. All part of the TV show, You Can't Turn That Into a House.
If my in-laws aren't impressed with this, then I don't know what's going to win them over.
Our second daughter, Tara, married Kyle Davis, and he is a very talented architect. He approached us to see if we wanted to build something on our ranch. So we thought about it and we agreed to do that. We really didn't have, we could just give our wish list, you know, but we really didn't have a say of what it was really going to look like inside. We had to place a lot of trust in our son-in-law.
Built in 10 days, the grain bins are fully equipped with a kitchen, living room, bedrooms, and a bathroom, all made from locally sourced materials. Limestone, these grain bins, wood even?
Yeah, everything's reclaimed wood. They, you know, just bought it from the local lumber store that was like buildings torn down, and the floor is all reclaimed wood. And one side is 2 bedrooms, one side is the kitchen and bath, and then the middle is the living space.
Putting their grain bin online to make revenue for the ranch, the Farleys have put every cent back into their rural retreat, listening to the suggestions of their tenants. Well, most of them.
You know, somebody asked if we could put in a hot tub, and we said no. You know?
Hoping to show people a new way for revenue on a ranch, the Farleys also strive to bridge the gap for agriculture between rural and urban.
Agritourism is a really neat concept for Kansas, and to have another stream of revenue and get city people out and appreciating agriculture and what we do. It's not just a myth, it's something real. It's a working ranch and it's happening, and a lot of city people don't have any idea what's going on. Getting to highlight Kansas and showing off Kansas, because we love it here and we like sharing it with other people.
Eyewitness News in Manhattan, Britton Rucker.
All right, thanks, Britton. And that's all of our time this morning. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day. Have fun.